everyone, this is Sally with the Polka Dot Life. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a really fun technique to teach you today. It's called the cut and shuffle technique, and it's great for making a lot of cards quickly. However, they do not need to be boring. So let's flip the camera down. I have a lot of examples to show you, and let's get started on today's project. Today I want to show you a technique to make some cards pretty quickly. It depends on how involved you want to get with them. They can be very quick or they can be a little bit more ornate, and that's fine too. It is a good thing maybe if you have some smaller pieces of designer series paper that you want to use up. That's another good reason for this. Some people call it a stack and shuffle, other ones call it cut and shuffle, but I just thought that this was really fun. So I am using the paper that goes with the Fancy Flora suite, and I have chosen 4 patterns. We'll see how they go together. I'm not sure, but these are the side that we're going to be keeping. So I'm putting the pattern that I really want to keep in this corner. And you just want to kind of put them in your trimmer to kind of keep them together so we can cut them all at one time and they will stay aligned. Now, my pieces happen to be 6 by 6. However, if you are using a 12 by 12 pattern, do not cut your paper down into a 6 by 6 just to do this. That would be really wasting and butchering up that piece of paper. If you have a 12 by 12, you simply need to cut this way a 3 3/4 inch strip, and then keep those all together, turn them and cut them at 5 inches. So we are also going to be cutting our stack down to 3 3/4, and we're going to do that 3/4 inch first so that we can keep this larger piece of paper intact for other projects. And you may have to go back and forth since we are cutting through 4 pieces of paper. And we're just going to remove that. Then we're going to turn it. And if you want to, if it makes you feel better to go ahead and bump that up in here and make sure it's secure, go ahead and do that. And now we are going to be cutting this at 5. That's going to leave us with a little strip that for a lot of cards you could go ahead and use. And we are just going to remove these also. So with this 3 3/4 at the top, these directions are really easy once you get the hang of it. We are going to line this up at the 2 inch mark. Then close your arm on your cutter. And we are just going to, again, make that cut using a few motions back and forth. We are going to remove this. You'll see that this piece is slightly smaller. We're going to lay this to the side. You cut this at 2 inches and you're going to rotate this and simply cut it at 2 inches again. I like starting by pushing it from the bottom. That way if they've come unaligned, that kind of pushes them into place. We are just going to lay these pieces right beside here, and we're going to bring these other ones in, and I am going, since I've handled them, I'm going to tap these in here. It's a great thing about this. If you're folding your cardstock for bases, it's also good to kind of push it up against here and fold it, and that helps you to keep it straight. Okay, this piece is 1 3/4 inches wide. Just so you can see that here. And we are going to turn it. I guess I could have just aligned them up that way to start with. Now this measurement is not the same as 1 3/4. It is only 1 1/2. The first one was 2 and 2, but this one you're going to cut at 1 1/2 inches. And we are just going to go ahead and go back and forth here. And we are going to go ahead and place these right here. Now that we've moved our trimmer out of the way. I like mine this way with the two taller pieces at the bottom, but you could certainly swap and have a small and the larges like that. There's really a lot of room for your own personal style here. I have 4 pieces of Orchid Oasis that are 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I am just picking up this one pile, and I am going to distribute or shuffle these between the 4 pieces. Now I have this next stack, and I am just going to start and add these. Now, if there's another print that you like better on the other side, you absolutely can flip that and yet they don't all have to be the same. You can I did that on some of my cards. You can flip them around and put them in the pattern that you like. And just loosely put them there because we are going to be moving these around anyway. I think I must have got one out of order somewhere along the way because I think that's how I want those to go. Okay, now I have these all done, and we're just going to put together one on camera, and then I will stop the recording and finish these up and show you the finished product all at one time, just for the sake of time. So let's just move this down in center frame of camera a little bit better. Now these are going to be touching. There's not going to be any gap left in between those pieces, and you want to try to get them straight, but you know, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the spacing gets a little bit off. If it gets off really bad, you can always trim the sides. And depending on which adhesive you use, if you use Stampin' Seal, you may be able to peel up a piece and straighten it up, but not with the liquid glue so much. And I'm going to try to keep this border about the same, so I can already see that needs to slide over. And I don't want it to get hung too much, which it has a little bit. So I'm just going to straighten it up with this edge. And like I say, if we need to trim this other edge, then we will. I just wanted some kind of colorful abstract cards. I am very, very ready for spring. I don't know about any of the rest of you. Even though it is a nice sunny day here in Alabama. And sometimes, like in the center, if you're going to be decorating your cards, which I assume most of us will at least put a sentiment on it, you can kind of hide that center area if you need to use that little space to get things back on track with being straight, if that works for your card. And my spacing is off a little bit, but it really doesn't bother me. So I'm just going to keep it as it is. I have our piece, and then I have a basic white cardstock. Now here's where you can start with your first decision. Do you want to pop this layer up on dimensionals? You certainly can do that. I am not with this card just because I am going to do my decorating with a couple different layers of dimensionals, and I don't want it to get too thick. However, I have some of the Baker's Twine, the In Color Baker's Twine, and I want to put this around the center of my card. And I am actually gonna give me some lead on that. Trying to decide if I want to tie it once or twice. And now you can't really get it to where it lines up with you. I would say just choose one line or the other, and I'm going to choose this lower line. And you know, I think I'm not exactly sure where my bow wants to go, where I want it to go. So I am going to just take this, and I just have some Scotch tape. Now you could tape this in separate places if you were wanting to, you know, conserve your twine usage. That's not a problem. I've got quite a bit here. So I am just going to do this. And I'm just going to flip it over. So that's your other decision, is you want to use any kind of embellishments. You certainly don't have to. I am going to kind of pinch those together. I want them to stay nice and tight and close to each other. And I've changed my mind on the dimensionals. And if I don't want to mail these, I will just use these for cards that I hand deliver to someone. But I think with this twine, I think it will just look nicer on the side if I use some dimensionals to kind of raise it up. If you have a flat ribbon, that's not a problem. You can glue that down and that will be flush. I'm just making sure that I put a dimensional on both sides of that just to hold that up. I'll catch that one little end in there, but I'm not too worried about it going anywhere. I think that's probably good. This is one of my favorite uses for the Take Your Pick tool. While I certainly can use my fingernails, sometimes it's just better not to get that sticky all over there when you're working on cards. Now I know that I am in the minority here, but I do, just for wiggle room for a large piece like this, I like to take the tack off of the Stampin' Dimensionals. If it's just a small piece, like a tag or something that I don't have to worry about exactly how it's placed, I don't do that. If I'm putting dimensionals on top of an embossed layer, definitely do this. So I'm just going to kind of see without getting my camera in, or head in the camera. Super fun. I wasn't so sure about using all of this same kind of pattern, but I kind of like it. I think it's going to be fun. So the two-tone Flora stamp set is what I use for this, for these images. And then I use the coordinating dies to cut them out. And then the tags came from the, it's the fancy, I think it's called Fancy Flora maybe. It goes with this. It's just the set that has the label dies and it has sentiments. So I am going to turn this over. Now this won't need as many. We do want to be mindful though of where that twine is going to run through in the center. And let's just give this a little press down here. I might just put one kind of right in this area just to keep it from sagging there in the middle. You know, when our cards go through the mail service, you know, it's automated. So sometimes things get a little pinched and squished, and that's just the way it is. So we just need to plan accordingly for that. And then I am just going to put this on here. Now, if you didn't want to spend a lot of time decorating and die cutting and stamping and all of those things, you certainly don't have to. I will show you where I started, and then this is kind of where I'm ending up. Now, I have stamped out the words congratulations from that coordinating set with the greetings, and I'm just going to I just trimmed it way down on my trimmer. I just kind of lined it up to where I couldn't see any of these letters anymore, and that's where I cut it. And I just need to decide where I kind of want to put it. I hate to I cut it down because I just can't stand the thought of covering up much of these flowers. I love these flowers. So you're going to have to be careful with this liquid glue, but it's going to be too skinny for your Stampin' Seal. I think it would probably be too skinny this way, even if you were using mini dimensionals. You might be able to get away with a glue dot if you balled it up. So I kind of want to cover up this top little edge of this flower. And you could pick whatever flowers you like, but they certainly are so beautiful. And Orchid Oasis is just my favorite color ever here. This current set of in colors that we have, I just love that. Super, super cute. Don't normally tie bows on my videos, but I'm going to give it an attempt here. There we go. Let's bring our glue dots in. And I'm going to just take this one off here. Normally I take my bows to my glue dot, but with these little twine things, we have to see. I may even cut this in half. I'm going to put it so that if any hangs out, it's at the top, because I'm going to kind of scooch it underneath here anyway, and just put it on top of that other twine. And then I can use this to kind of push it up in there, or my scissors. If you don't have a take your pick tool, you could do this. And sometimes these are just easier to get in there. There we go. Like that. So I think that is super cute. I may go ahead and trim this tail just a hair shorter. But I love that. So I will stop the recording here for a minute. I will finish my other cards to go with this so that you can see them all. Here are this set of cards. I have several other ones to show you. And I wanted to show you, I just varied the color of those two-tone Flora flowers. And I just finished them off, and I have not done anything to the inside of this particular set of cards right now, but I may go back and add some colored cardstock and then another white layer in the inside. I sometimes like to do that with my white cards. And this paper, if you haven't purchased this paper, this is one that you really want to make sure that you have in your arsenal. It is so incredibly pretty. So I wanted to show you where I began. And I even sent 2 cards already. I have 2 great nephews that were both turning 13 this year. And so that's kind of one of those ages where it's hard to give them an adult man card, but yet a kid card is certainly not fitting for them anymore. So I thought that this was masculine, but still kind of, I used this Biggest Wish stamp set on theirs, and I just thought it was kind of very modern looking. And I just did this on the inside of both of those cards. I just thought those were super fun. And this layer is glued down flat. These are popped up with dimensionals. But I just thought that those went together really quickly, and I thought that they were really nice. And now these cards use some Celebration paper, and this is a time to remind you the Celebration only is around for a few more days. There isn't going to be a second Celebration this year, so if you have some things that you want to purchase, maybe those prepaid paper pumpkin codes or any like the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, any of those larger purchases, then I would consider doing that so that you can get your free Celebration items. These cards feature the Day at the Farm Designer Series paper, and that is the Celebration item, and then On the Farm bundle. You will see on these cards that I varied the papers. I flipped some of them. You can see that no two of them are the same. I used different colored card bases. I added an extra layer just to give it a little pop. I thought, especially with the black, that is something that I like to do. And then on the inside, I stamped on this layer before I adhered it on and colored it with the Stampin' Blend markers. So on these ones, this is also adhered flat down, but like I say, I added that extra layer. I added the black tag and did some heat embossing in white on that. And then these are actually images cut straight out of the paper. So if you didn't have the stamp set, that's fine. You can just use the elements that you have and create with them. Now, I know that this is going to make some of you sad, that maybe you have missed out on the Dainty Flowers Designer Series paper that was a Celebration item. Unfortunately, that has already sold out, but I knew that several of you have probably already received this, and so you maybe wanted some ideas to use with it. But also the Dainty Delight bundle is still available, and you could just sub in a different paper. Again, I put these layers flat down. I added some vellum, and look, all of my vellum pieces are different sizes. Doesn't even matter. You're not going to be sending all of these to the same person. Even if you group these all in a set and wrap them with a bow, it doesn't matter. These were just pieces that I had in my scraps that I just felt that I needed something to help this pop off the page a little bit, and so that's why I used it. I took several of those die cuts and just made a little spray of flowers. I used the fresh freesia ribbon. I stamped and cut out some greetings, and this one I used the postage stamp punch. And so you just have all kinds of different options. These ones I used white dots. These ones I used fresh freesia. They don't all have to match. I just had so much fun letting some of this creativity flow. And on the inside, I just used one of the stamps from the Dainty Delight bundle, and I think that's what I did in all of them. I just varied the color of ink that I used. And of course, I did matching envelopes for all of these as well. These next cards feature two different Celebration items. I used the Sending Support stamp set for my greetings, and I used the Favored Flowers Designer Series paper. I am going to tell you, I do not own the Fragrant Flowers bundle that coordinates with this paper, but it didn't matter. You have all these great images to cut out of the paper. I'm going to be very honest with you. I did not order this paper right away. I didn't like it. I don't like black backgrounds on paper. It was just too incredibly dark for me. I need the color. I am just one of those girls that needs the color. And so I found, though, once I cut these out, I kind of actually like the little bit of black border on them, and I fussy cut these by hand. And then I just brought in that gold. I thought that it brightened it up a little bit. And I added that gold shimmer ribbon under the greeting and just these little pieces of vellum, which are all different, by the way. And some I made for a very happy birthday. Let's see. And I think these ones are for a feeling better kind of day. So the outside greetings were all the same, but the inside ones were different. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I used different embellishments on the outside as well. I just kind of mixed it up. Here you have a wide variety of cards. If you add in the 2 that I already mailed from this stack, I would have 20 cards that came together in no time at all. And they all look incredibly different. They don't look like a just easy, simple, put together card. You can go from simple, or you can go and do a definitely more stepped up version. Don't forget to get those celebration orders in the next few days, or you will be really, really sad. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.